Drive.
Didn't cat.ph got shut down, right, for torrents?
Never used it.
I've always used the Pirate Bay just because.
I thought Pirate Bay was shut down
Yeah,
like
so did I.
forever ago.
They just keep moving around. You just got to know how to find it.
It's
And be careful what you download, obviously, because if you start downloading like a shit ton of movies and TV shows, they're going to catch you. Unless you use a VPN, which I do sometimes.
Yeah.
But for comics, I really don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For comics, I don't think they care because it's so small, so quick. It's like, boom, you're done. All right, anyways.
All right, yeah, we're live, just to let you know. Best horror films.
Mm-hmm.
Pick 2. All right, so, hey everybody, welcome to the 3cast for September 21st, 2016. This month is almost over with. It seems like I comment on the movement of time every time we come on and do a podcast because...
That's what happens with old people. You do that when you're old.
You want to know what? You keep that old shit to yourself, old man. I am not old. Take that back. I'm just 31.
Holy, look, Rick, man, remember when he was just in his 20s? Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago. How dare I? My dad is 74, 72, 73, something like that, and he stopped aging at 29, according to him. So,
Yeah, I heard that.
all right. So, anyways, this is the 3cast. I'm your host this week, Matthew Weber. I'm joined by the boys are back. We're all here.
How'd that happen?
Is here. Ricky Williams is here.
Finally, after Google fucked around.
I don't think Google sucks so much as Ricky just doesn't know how to use Google.
Yeah, no, Google sucks.
Anyway, so this is the podcast where we review things, usually. Excuse me. So most of the time we do movies. Sometimes we do comic books. Every once in a while we'll do a television show. And if all of us all of a sudden became unemployed, we'd do books. The thing is, unfortunately, that's not going to happen. We can't do books. I think it'd be great to do a book club or a book podcast, but it's really hard, mainly because I think that we all have varying ranges of tastes in movies, and books are even more polarizing than movies, So I think it'd be much harder to do books, as much as I want to. So that's what we do. And to answer your question from earlier, Vince, from before we started podcasting, yes, Ricky and I did very minusculely touch on Apple's announcements 2 weeks ago, but I forbade him from actually talking too much about it because the iPhone 7 is just so terrible, and we all know he's a fanboy. So, are you gonna buy us an iPhone 7, Vince?
No, and that's not just to spite my daughter, because she would inherit my 6S, but I need something more. I need something more than just simply no headphone jacks, man.
Yeah. All right. So here's something funny. When they talked about this on one of the Twit podcasts, I thought of Vince because I think it was like the iPhone 6 when you went into a store and carved your name into the back of a phone. On the new Piano Black, there's actually small print on the page that says, "Warning: this stretches very easily, so please put it in a case."
No.
Swear to God, it does. It says. It scratches. I mean, obviously, it says more legalese or whatever, but it says that basically the phone scratches really easily. So we recommend putting this into one of many Apple iPhone cases. That's great. Not only can't you buy the Piano Black on the lowest priced iPhone, so you have to spend an extra $100 if you want that color. But if you do buy it, you have to put it in a case because if you don't, it's going to get scratched within the first 30 seconds of buying it. So.
Yeah.
Welcome to Apple.
You gotta step up to the fucking plate, yo.
Put your phone in a case.
If you wanna play with the big dogs, you gotta spend big money.
What? So the Apple device is more of a proxy for wealth than actual operational functionalism?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So it's an accessory, not a phone.
That's why he talks to Johnny Ive and we don't, Vince. Just saying.
Sure,
All right, so let's jump into our topic tonight. It's this is Vince's topic, so why don't you just jump into what we're doing tonight, Vince?
Yeah, well, so typically we typically talk about comics and action movies, blockbusters, but one thing that we often ignore are chick flicks, and that makes total sense because none of us would watch them willingly.
But dudes.
Yeah, sorry, man. But I decided maybe we'd take a little turn. Halloween's approaching, and maybe we can have a little bit of list of a couple Halloween movies for our listeners just as we move forward. Because I'm just coming off of Toronto International Film Festival, and it's literally right across the street from where I work. And right after Toronto International Film Festival is the Horror Film Festival. Okay, so I'm seeing all these Japanese horror movies coming out across the street. They're launching. Blair Witch 2 came out last week, and there was a huge display, and you'd walk into this haunted house thing that they set up outside my street. So, let's talk about horror movies. I said pick the top 2 horror movies, and they don't have to be horror movies insofar as they scared the hell out of you. Maybe there's some twist ending. Maybe there's something that's really interesting about it. I know for my perspective, both the movies that I liked were exciting. But one was actually frightening, and the other one was just it lingered in your mind. You're like, that's kind of disturbing. So I have my own, but can we start off with, let's say, Rick?
No, don't start with me. Let's start off with Matt.
No, let's start off. Let's just pass this around until we get to 10
Okay,
o'clock.
so
Nobody will go. I'll go. I got my 2. I'll go. All right. So, when I was in middle school, I know it was a long time ago. I was really into Stephen King books. Yeah. So, I was in middle school. So, obviously my taste in literature hadn't matured enough to the point where I realized that Stephen King doesn't know how to use adjectives.
Or close a book, or conclude a book.
Well, John Grisham has that problem too, but a whole bunch of authors do that. All right, but anyways, Stephen King has a horrible problem when it comes to his books being translated into movies, because pretty much all of his horror movies, all of his books that translate into horror movies are pretty bad. The best example I have is the movie It, which the book was terrible too, but the movie just made it even more ridiculous.
Wait till the remake.
Yeah, they're remaking it, which is hilarious. It's still going to suck. But that being said, my 2 favorite horror movies are also Stephen King movies. So, The Stand was an epic made-for-TV movie that was also, a gigantic 1,000-page book.
But was it really a horror to you? Honestly?
No. All right, so you'll notice that I'm not going to pick a whole bunch of I've seen the first Saw movie. I despised it. I didn't like Paranormal Activity or whatever, and everybody freaking flipped out over that movie because it was so scary or whatever. I just thought that was dumb. My personal opinion on most horror films is that they're just stupid. That's why so you guys know the Scary Movie franchise where they go through and make movies of them? Those are my favorite scary movies because they're hilarious. Anyway, so The Stand is one of my favorites. It's not really scary. The book is actually more horror-based than the film.
But is a horror to you? I remember reading it when I was a kid, and I don't recall it being a horror so much as more of a post-apocalyptic fantasy.
Yeah, it's I suppose that would be, but for me that's horror. I guess I don't know. Mainly because I just don't get into the other kind of bullshit. Anyway, so on a similar vein, my second one is another one. It wasn't actually a Stephen King book. He didn't write a book. He wrote the screenplay, Storm of the Century, and that's actually pretty good. From the point of it had an ending that you really didn't see coming, because the villain goes through the whole movie or whatever, and you don't know what the hell he wants, but he's killing people left and right. The storm, it's on a main island or whatever, and
Maine.
Oh yeah, right. That's where Stephen King's from.
Gotcha.
it's like 30 feet of snow or whatever, and people are going missing left, right, and center, and killing each other for no apparent reason or hanging themselves. Typical Stephen King fare, and in the end, it just turns out that the villain wants the village to willingly give them one of their kids, so he can like have a heir, like an apprentice. And he threatens them to for the whole island to vanish or whatever. And apparently, supposedly he was the one that was behind Roanoke Island or whatever. That's probably my favorite one. It has Tim Daly and a whole bunch of older like New England actors. Anyways, those are my two favorites.
Okay. Rick
and Ricky.
Okay, so yeah, the reason why I didn't want to go first is because I have two movies, but I couldn't remember what the stupid names were, so I had to look it up. Because they're not scary movies, because scary movies suck. I've watched the one with the little girl's head spins around, Exorcist or whatever, the old one, the new one, they both sucked. So the two movies, the first one is called The Forgotten, and it's not, both of these movies, it's not so much that they're scary, but there's a part in it where the scene just comes out of nowhere, and it just sort of takes your breath away, and it leaves me remembering. So with The Forgotten, it's where these aliens are taking these kids away, and so they erase the parents' memory of the kids and like everything, like their pictures and all this stuff. And this one mother, she lost her son in a plane accident, and so when her daughter was taken, for some reason she had this like in the back of her mind, like a little faint memory that she did have this daughter, right? Like she couldn't shake it. Everyone's telling her no, like, there's nothing like that. And she meets this father who lost his son, and he had the same feeling too. And so they started, going and looking, like there was this like plane where they both dropped their kids off to go on some trip, so they looked up the company of the plane and they went to where the address was, but now it's like abandoned, but they found papers in the office that lead to some, so they kept following. And there's this one part where I think another parent or something says they also remember their kid, and they're all standing on the street, and all of a sudden he just shoots up into the air, and it just came out of nowhere. Like there was no, like usually you watch a movie, you can kind of see like a faint, there's clues of what's gonna come next, and there was no clue, no nothing, no, he was gone, right? And it was just so sudden, so quick that you just kind of like, holy shit, like what just happened? And the other movie where it was a very similar kind of thing is called The Mothman Prophecies, which no, I said I didn't like it.
Okay.
Like these movies, like I don't like them, but it's just a movie. Like I went to go see it in the theaters. It was nighttime, like it was dark. It was just a movie. It was just the one part, just like the other movie. There's the one part where he's driving his car, and it was like on a dark road. He couldn't see anything, and this light just went. Like I'm still hazy because I just remember that one part in the movie, but it's basically supposed to be the moth or Mothman or whatever the hell it is, flew through like an apparition, flew through his vehicle, and it's just the whole thought of it, like, because he was looking into all these like strange things, and just the darkness of it, and like the suddenness of it. It just, that one particular scene just kind of stood out to me. So those are the two movies where it's not so much they were scary movies, but the one scene was so, like, you didn't see it coming, you didn't expect it, and it just like shocked you. So it's just a shock value. So, for me, those are my two movies that I always remember.
So, you know what? I think that this. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to bring up bad, movie memories or anything. But like, and just for the listeners, spoiler alert. I guess a little bit too late. But so to me, my favorite movies, very quickly. I like scary movies. I don't like horror movies necessarily. Like I don't like slasher movies. I like movies that mess with people's minds. But the ones that are the scariest to me are the ones that are steeped in some grain of truth. Like I always like the take a peek at some of the movies that are like based on true facts. Like so, one of the first movies that scared me when I was a kid, certainly was Poltergeist, because it was based like you're watching, you're like, yeah, okay, it's like fake and stuff. But then it wasn't until I think my neighbors told me, because we had it on VHS, we were watching it, and my neighbor said, no, man, it's based on real stuff. And I was like, nah, you're lying. And they're like, no, it's based on like this really happened, that this family bought a house and it, got on an India burial ground, and like you pissed off those spirits and they mess with those kids. Now, of course, the stuff walking through the TV and all that stuff, that doesn't happen in real life. But the fact that was like, man, you can piss off dead people, that scared the hell out of me when I was a kid. And, it's based on some real fact. Now, whether or not it was real or not, or interpreted, or psychological issues, that's another story. But the fact that stuff happened, and the movie kind of dramatizes it, that kind of became traumatic, especially when you're like 6, right? When those warnings, those PG-13s, I think those actually are supposed to mean something, right? Like, right? Second movie that, so that's other than Poltergeist, I mean, the other movie that I thought was really impactful, like I'm also a big fan, like the original Blair Witch Project was good, right? Because it kind of got you, in that headspace. But man, I remember in the early 90s.
You like that original Blair? I hated that movie.
No, because, okay, so
I thought it was such a waste of money. I saw it in the theaters. I was like, what is this shit?
Yeah, I know, but it's like it's a gimmick at once. But then you're like, like I actually, when that movie came out, the internet was still in its infancy. So you'd look up the stuff on the internet, and it would be like, it'd try to make it like sound like it was real, like they really found these things. So it was kind of cool back then. But that's more of a media thing than a movie. The movie that really got me, and it was in the early 90s, it was called Candyman. Did you guys watch Candyman? Okay. This movie, I honestly got to say, it was a very strong movie to me, because it wasn't your typical slasher flick. Yes, there is an antagonist that if you say Candyman in the mirror, he comes out and kills you. But the thing about it is that it was an urban legend thing, where they created their own urban legend. It was like a combination of Bloody Mary and Nightmare on Elm Street, where if you say Candyman in the mirror, this guy will come out with a hook and kill you, right? But the really crazy thing was that this girl who's doing her thesis, the main character is doing her thesis on like urban legends, tries to debunk it. And what happens is that, for various reasons, Candyman actually, she looks like Candyman's lover when Candyman's a black antagonist, right? And it was like during the slave era, he was kind of killed by his slave owners, right? And for falling in love with one of the white, people that lived on the plantation. So the thing is that she happens to look like this lady. And the crazy thing about it is that instead of just going this massive like slasher thing, he frames her for killing all these people, so that they think that she's all crazy. And this whole thing is just trying to get to be with her in the afterlife. And to me, like, it was the kind of creation of an entire urban myth that was really freaky. The fact that they contextualized it in urban condition, like, usually you see it's like a cabin in the woods kind of thing, or like, crazy gothic area. No, this is straight up like in downtown Detroit or something like that. And it was really cool because it was like an urban legend, right? It was like super, like, it was like, I like reading into metaphors and stuff. Like, it was like this whole black versus white society thing going on. It was about class differences. It was about why can't we get along. Like, it came out after like the LA riots. To me, that was a great movie on lots of levels, but it was also freaky. I gotta give it cred, man. So, long story short, those are the rundown on the horror movies of the, our crew, right?
I'm just glad nobody said Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's not a horror movie. That's just slasher porn, man. I mean, come on, that's stupid.
I remember there's one scene in there that freaked me out where he was wearing the other guy's face. But still, terrible movie. Anyways.
No, but it's funny, if you really want to be scared, is, well, probably not now, but...
watch the news.
No, play, shit, what was it? Doom,
Last of Us?
Quake? No, it was like, that's why I said not now, but I played It was either the new version of
Oh,
Doom.
Doom 3. The Doom 3.
It was the really dark one that came out after the movie, and I played it at like 1 in the morning with all the lights off in my room. Yo, that shit's scary. That shit's scarier than any movie. I started hearing shit in my house. I was like, yeah, I'm going to bed now.
But you know what? Have you ever played Last of Us, man? Because that even gets worse. Because when I was playing Last of Us, Doom, you know that like you're in a trans colony or somewhere in space, and it's set in science fiction world, right? But the thing with Last of Us, it's like you're walking through and it's like zombies and shit, right? So the crazy thing is you'll walk in and it's like it looks like your house, it looks like your workplace, and then like a zombie will like be coming out or something, and that's where it gets really freaky. Like, oh, man, this office looks exactly like, oh shit, it's my office. Right?
Holy shit.
All right, let's jump into the picks of the week. Vince, do you have a pick of the week for us?
Final Fantasy X Brevius, man. I cannot stop playing this thing. I think it's addictive. You know that I'm a big Final Fantasy and role-playing game fan. It's a throwback to the old 80s, 90s RPGs. You can play. It's like your Hearthstone, basically, right?
Or the kidnapping simulator you were playing.
Yeah. Yes. So I have quite particular taste, but this one, it's a fun game. For those of you guys that like RPGs, you don't have to pay for it to really do well. You just have to be patient. I know that, like Matt, you were saying with Hearthstone, you can pay for stuff, right?
Yeah.
The only problem with the game right now is that it incrementally has like downloadable content. So like I'm at the point where I'm always you play and then you max out your characters because they're waiting for the next level to be built and deployed. And then while you're waiting, you just max out your characters even more. So when you get the new levels, bam, you just walk through it because your characters are so overpowered, right? So now I'm just trying to get perfect scores on all my people. That's because it's like the kidnapping simulator. It's like you just want to get the perfect batch of people, right? So that's my game, man.
I haven't played any of those games in years and years. Ricky, yours.
So yeah, I've been getting into Linux. So I've got two picks. The first one is Terminator, which is just like it's the shit. So basically, Terminator is like your terminal on steroids. You can split it horizontally or vertically so that you could basically have a limited amount of terminal windows all open, and it's not in tabs, so they're like beside each other, below each other, so it's really good. You can visualize it, you can work in each one. It's especially cool because you can log into the super user in one so that you don't have to constantly be doing sudo commands and stuff. So it's got layouts, it's got profiles. It's a bit tricky to get it to remember your layouts and profiles. Like I had to
That's not good.
Well, no, the thing is, like, the profiles and the layouts are there, and you can kind of manually set it for them to come up, right? Mm-hmm. But in order to get it so that you launch it and it comes up the way you set it up, well, at least for me, like, I looked on the web and everyone seemed to be able to do it, but for my installation, I don't know why, I had to put the layout command in the desktop icon. It's not that hard, but you just got to kind of know how to do that, how to change the config file. Or not the config file, the desktop icon. The next one is I've become a wicked lover of VirtualBox because my MacBook Pro is running macOS, Windows, and Ubuntu all at the same time. Well, no, because the VirtualBoxes don't have to be that big, right? I mean, at least not for now. And I got lots of RAM, so that's not a thing. So that's my next pick is a kick-ass laptop with like 16 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte hard drive that you can run like 3 or 4 distros in VirtualBox. That is killer.
You are such a nerd, Ricky.
Guys, like,
That's it. That's okay, man, because I'm right there with you. I was like, I understood every word he said. I'm so proud of myself. Like, if only I didn't have to work with those things every day, and they just got so boring. All right.
Terminator, man, I'm telling you, if you don't already have it, that shit is, love it.
The problem is the only Linux that I work with every day is a private distro, and we can't install any third-party applications on it. It's only our private stuff. So yeah, I told you I wanted to install Ubuntu on my laptop or whatever. I just haven't got around to it. All right. Anyways, so I'm going to do something Vince usually does and recommend a piece of hardware. I know. So I needed a new pair of headphones because I had these like really shitty Sony ones that like a coiled cord and
because he bought the iPhone 7 and now he has no headphone jack.
No, that is absolutely not true. You probably can pay me to take an iPhone 7 without.
Man, I had to do that when I bought the iPad. Man, that pissed me off so much.
I just don't want an iPhone. No, a new iPad. I'd take a new iPad. And that won't even. You know, if they got rid of the headphone jack in the iPad, I probably wouldn't care because I don't put headphones in the iPad.
Yeah, the iPad doesn't have a headphone jack. Like mine does not have one.
Really?
Pros. The iPad Pros don't have headphone jacks. I had to buy Bluetooth for just that.
Mine does, and it's the.
Sorry, maybe that's just the Pro, Vince. I don't know.
No, mine's a Pro. It has a headphone jack.
All the Samsungs things have a head jack.
I think Vince. I think
blew Vince's mind.
I think Vince got the version from Chinatown.
Oh, there it is. It's a damn keyboard case, man. That's all.
That's hilarious. All right. Anyway, so my pick is so I wanted a pair of headphones that not only were Bluetooth but also I could use like with a cord or whatever. Because obviously. Like my desktop here doesn't have Bluetooth at all because Windows didn't know what Bluetooth was until like 2013 because Microsoft. But I also wanted Bluetooth to be able to work with my phone and my iPad and whatever. But I also didn't want to pay like $400 for a pair of headphones or even $150 for headphones just because I use headphones so often they tend to break very quickly because I wear them like a lot. So I mean, like the pads get all crappy and the hinges or whatever on them, break and snap and shit because I just use them a lot. So this new pair is from a company I've never heard of before. It's called Avantri. The headphones are called Edition Pro. They're $80. And not only do they sound pretty fantastic, especially for like music and movies, and games, but they're like wearing a cloud. I'm wearing them now. They're over-the-ear headphones.
They look
they're big. So I mean, like they're studio-size headphones. So they're not earbuds if that's what you're into. So they're gonna be hot, but these are just kind of that kind of headphones that I like. But anyways, they sound fantastic. They're very, very comfortable. They're quite a bit bass heavy, so they're not so good with like podcasts and stuff, or anything spoken word. But if you like bass heavy like music, whatever, I like listen to my my young people music, as I like to call it. Has a lot of bass in it. So these do perfectly fine. So they're never going to compare to the $300 or $400 pairs like Bose headphones or Sennheiser or whatever. But for $80, not only are they comfortable, but that you can plug a cord into them. If you don't, the PC doesn't have Bluetooth, but you can also use Bluetooth, and they last 40 hours on a charge, which is like unheard of for like Bluetooth headphones.
Yeah.
And they're zero latency, so if you use them on like your Xbox or your PlayStation or like even a computer for a gaming, there's no delay in the sound, so it's like just like as if they were plugged in. So, and a lot of times, like with Bluetooth headphones, there's a pretty wide latency margin where there's a delay for like, especially where something's important like video games. Anyway, so like they're $80. I definitely recommend them because they sound fantastic. That's my pick.
Okay.
All right. So that's the picks of the week. If you want to get content, that's it. That was easy, guys. We just did that. I mean, all three of us, we still get along like pros. I mean, just great. Even though we haven't seen Vince, he was off doing his thing for the last few weeks. And Ricky was
teaching. It's called teaching.
Yeah, teaching, whatever. Yeah, that's what they call it these days, I'm sure. Anyways, if you want to get in contact with us on Twitter, I'm at MTWB. Vince is VWHUI. And Ricky is Ricky_Williams1. The podcast is at The Three Casts on Twitter. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The3Cast. We are on YouTube. We apparently, Ricky, I didn't find us on iTunes. I don't know what the fuck's going on with iTunes. I think iTunes is just dead. I'm pretty sure that Apple just never updates anything on the iTunes store ever. I don't know. You hate Google. I hate Apple. Just the way things are. I mean, I've been fucking around with iTunes for almost a year now. I'm so fucking sick of iTunes. I'm just gonna literally, if I didn't have movies that had the fucking Apple DRM on them that could only be watched in iTunes, I wouldn't even install iTunes. I'd install some third party where I could listen to my music and watch my torrented stolen TV shows. Anyways, coming up in 2 weeks, which is will actually be in October, which is October 5th. Oh God, October 5th is our next show. We're going to be reading a really weird comic book from what I've seen called I Hate Fairyland. It's Ricky's.
This is the shit, man.
It looks weird. I mean, I am judging it by its cover, so I mean, just saying. Anyway, and in 2 weeks after that, we'll be doing my next movie, which is Children of Men with Clive Owen, Julianne Moore. Basically, it's about everybody killing themselves. It's fantastic.
All for one pregnant lady.
Yep, it's all about one pregnant lady. It's an okay movie. Anyways, that's in 4 weeks. So we will be back next week with I Hate Fairyland, or in 2 weeks with I Hate Fairyland. We'll see you then.
All right.